show how to get your Rhino 3D model to inCitu Pro and use it in AR on mobile devices and also in Model Viewer in web browser. So as you can see, this model looks really complex, and the goal is to optimize the 3D model and make the file size smaller, and also check all the textures and the texture maps, the UVs, the materials, and make it ready for AR. We already have the materials assigned and the model unwrapped, UV unwrapped. The textures are also assigned to all the materials. So this model looks ready and we can select all. It is important before we export to check the scene units, so it has to be in meters. So go to Tools, Option, Units, and change to meters, and click OK. Click OK, and go to Export Selected. Okay, let's call this Fox Street. We must select the save textures, save geometry only, because we don't need the lights, the camera, and other empty objects. In Export Object, make sure that the polygon mesh object is selected. And for this use case, we will use export Rhino object name as OBJ groups. So this will export the 3D model as one mesh. Okay. So the same pop-up again, just hit OK. Because we don't have too many spherical geometries, we can go, and we should go with fewer polygons. And also the subdivision level can be lower. Maybe right here. You can always play with these settings. Hit OK. And this should take some time, and the mesh will be created and ready for import to Blender. The OBJ file was created. We can open now Blender. Let's import the OBJ file to Blender 3D. The file size is over 1 GB, which is too high. Let's try to optimize it. After the model is loaded, it can take few seconds. We will review the materials, the textures. Okay, let's switch here to the shading mode. And in Viewport Overlays, enable statistics. Delete these objects we don't need. We have only the mesh. All the materials are imported correctly, and the UV maps, textures, everything looks good. To overcome this clipping issue, we can press N on keyboard and change the clipping value just a bit. it won't affect the geometry, only the Blender viewport. The face count is too high, it's 7 million. The goal will be to use some modifiers in Blender and decrease that number approximately to 200k. Let's try adding a modifier called decimate. Let's add a modifier. Let's add the decimate modifier from generate and choose decimate. Because of the high face count, we can try first with 0.1 ratio, and it takes maybe 30 seconds to process the geometry. I'll pause the video while this decimation is ongoing. Okay, it's finished, and the face count is 1 million roughly. Let's apply this modifier and add another decimate modifier so we can lower face count. Let's add one more time the decimate modifier, and this time the ratio can be 0.25, for example. Okay, the face count is acceptable and we don't see any deformations on the mesh itself. But if I increase, let's say, to 0.1, we will see that some geometry is starting to deform. Like we lost all the wooden facade covers. So let's bring it back to 0.25. Apply this modifier also, and when it is applied, we can check the transforms on the model. So when we see that the scale is not 1 and we have rotation that is not 0, and also the location, we should select the model, or if you have multiple, select all the models and press Ctrl A and apply all transforms. It will zero out the scale, the rotation and the location. This model is now ready for export. Let's check the file size. The goal is to export this under 25 megabytes. Fox Street. Okay, and the GLB is, yes, it's 23.6 megabytes. And now let's upload the model to inCitu Pro and verify that it looks good in WebGL, and we can create our AR project. Okay, it's the GLB one. Okay, the model is uploaded and it looks really good.